Before everything in the world came to a screeching halt as a result of the rapid spread of the coronavirus, the XFL had really started to build a solid following and was starting to show some signs of staying power. Sadly, the rest of the season, which was 5 games into what was supposed to be a 10-game season and a 2-week postseason, has since been canceled. The games that took place thus far were solid, not built on gimmicks or sex appeal like the previous iteration of the league. And the fans, especially in football-starved markets like St. Louis, who had just recently had its NFL team ripped from its hands a few years back, were starting to buy into what Vince McMahon and Oliver Luck were selling. I mean, just check out the way that St. Louis Battlehawks kicker Taylor Russolino described the home crowd in St. Louis. I'll never forget it. That first home game when we were pulling off the interstate right there on the buses, everybody has their headphones in and we're all kind of sitting there. But then we exit and we start to see the flags, the tailgating, and everybody was kind of just like, whoa, like this is real. This city is for real. This city is ready to embrace us. Well, through no fault of its own, the future of the XFL is very much still up in the air. Starting up a full-fledged professional football league required a massive capital investment, and the unforeseen cancellation of the season could end up being a kill shot for the young league. That being said, even if the league does end up tanking as a result of the crisis, the fact that the XFL ever returned at all will still end up being a good thing for us football fans. Whenever one of these new startup leagues kick off, regardless of how much success it has in sticking around, there ends up being a positive effect on the NFL, which traditionally needs a little kick in the rear to keep on developing new progressive ways to improve the game and the fan experience. The XFL should have a particularly positive impact in terms of furthering the development of the rulebook and some of the more innovative ways that they've created engagement with their players after looking at what the XFL did with some of their sideline interviews and live mics.
What does this team need to do on offense to get something going here?
We need to change the whole entire game plan at halftime.
But what might be more exciting for NFL fans than the rule changes are the players that got their chance to showcase their skill sets on the national stage, many of whom might have shown enough to earn a roster spot in the NFL. Even with all of the talented players that the XFL touted during the first 5 games of its inaugural season, there is one guy who almost definitely would have ended up as the XFL MVP if the season was completed, and his performance coupled with his transferable skill set leave him standing alone as the single most exciting prospect for NFL talent evaluators. In fact, he showed so much promise that many people believe he might end up proving to be the next Russell Wilson if he can get his chance in the NFL. That man is P.J. Walker, the quarterback of the 5-0 XFL leading Houston Roughnecks. Through those first 5 games in the XFL, Walker was absolutely dynamic, throwing for 15 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions, along with 1,338 yards. And while it wasn't the focal point of his game like Russell Wilson, Walker has consistently showed the propensity to break more than a couple of big runs. Now, if that name sounds somewhat familiar, Walker was a pretty well-known college player, as he and Matt Rule did the unthinkable and made Temple University's football team relevant. Walker was an absolute beast under center, throwing for over 10,000 yards and accounting for 83 total touchdowns during his time as an Owl. And he wasn't just accumulating stats either. Walker was a consummate pro and covered for a lot of holes on those Temple teams. Unfortunately for Walker, he definitely does not fit the prototype for an NFL quarterback, as he stands just under 6 feet, and as a result, he was not highly rated coming out of college. In fact, he fell out of the draft entirely. He did have a brief stint in the NFL, having spent 2 years in Indianapolis after signing with them as an undrafted free agent, but he never made it past the practice squad. I'd wager he never really got a fair shot at earning a roster spot, which, considering the Colts' roster construction, is somewhat understandable. After all, up until his shocking retirement this past season, the Colts were pretty set at quarterback with Andrew Luck, so they were probably focused elsewhere when it came to evaluating the talent at the bottom of their roster. Quarterback was just not a priority for them. He did get some attention early in the 2019 NFL season when the Pittsburgh Steelers called the XFL office to inquire about signing Walker for a week ahead of their matchup with the Baltimore Ravens to run scout team. But the XFL blocked the signing as per its original policy and the priority it placed on retaining its talented players to keep the product consistent. Anyways, despite the fact that Walker may have been frustrated with his time as a Colt, as I'm sure he felt like he couldn't get the necessary attention from the coaching staff, it certainly did not prove to be useless, as the work he did there did happen to catch the attention of someone. And that someone is none other than the former Colts Pro Bowl quarterback Andrew Luck himself. Interestingly, Walker actually had a really good relationship with both Luck and his backup Jacoby Brissett, both of whom he attributes a lot to his success in the XFL too. Check out his rave review of the time he spent sharing the quarterback room with those two fellas. I saw so many different ways to grow as a player, to grow as a person, to even grow eventually when I have kids, to grow as a father. So just to see those guys and the way they work every day, it just showed me how to be a professional. Showed me that this business is really legit and you need to be on your P's and Q's every day. It's just different, You work at it, you're competing for a job, this is how you feed your family at this point. As luck would have it, pun intended, Andrew's father Oliver, who also played quarterback at the NFL level, was handpicked by the XFL's majority owner, Vince McMahon, to serve as the CEO and commissioner of the XFL. Oliver had extensive experience leading athletic organizations. He served as the athletic director at his alma mater, West Virginia. He was the general manager of multiple NFL Europe teams before becoming the league's president, and he was the president of an MLS franchise. Oliver worked closely with his son Andrew when it came to recruiting for the upstart XFL, and who better to consult on some little-known talents than a guy like Andrew Luck, who played multiple seasons in college at Stanford and was well respected around the NFL during his 7-year career. The elder Luck told the Houston Chronicle, the local newspaper that covers Walker's XFL team, that his son Andrew had highly recommended Walker and had pushed enough for him to get a shot. He said, and I quote, "Andrew had been pushing him to me. He said, 'Dad, I'm telling you, this guy can play. He's a good kid and a hard worker, and he's hungry to play.'" Walker was ultimately paired with the Roughnecks as his playing style really jived with head coach June Jones' system. And after an excited sign-on from the club's personnel director Randy Mueller, it was official. PJ Walker's second chance at football glory had arrived. It's a shame that we will not get a chance to see Walker finish out the rest of the XFL season, as he gave every inclination that his play was going to continue to get more and more exciting as he continued to strengthen the relationship with his wide receivers. Even with a limited sample size, Walker had already started to garner some attention from NFL scouts, notably the Seattle Seahawks, who were concerned that they were going to lose Geno Smith, the backup to their perennial Pro Bowl QB, Russell Wilson. They even sent scouts to Walker's game against the Seattle Dragons, and of course, Walker did not disappoint, throwing for 351 yards and 3 touchdowns en route to a big 32-23 victory over the Dragons. It isn't just Walker's gaudy numbers that has NFL fans and scouts alike excited by the prospects of seeing him on an NFL field again soon. He has displayed a poise that screams seasoned vet, which is vital in the NFL, especially at the quarterback position. I mean, taking that game against the Seattle Dragons, for example, the game got off to a slow start for the usually dominant Roughnecks, as they failed to score late into the second quarter. With scouts in the stands and his team trailing by 14 points, it would have been understandable if Walker faltered further. Pressure has that effect on some people. But he remained calm and threw a big-time 50-yard touchdown pass before leading the team back down the field for an easy 1-yard touchdown run, followed by a successful 2-point conversion, to tie the game in the final few minutes of the first half. Not only is he particularly poised in the pocket, he has also shown the unique ability to escape and evade just about any rush, similar to what Russell Wilson does at the NFL level. Walker's abilities have steadfastly remained evident via the eye test and the consistent results, as he and the Renegades averaged 31.6 points per game, which was significantly higher than the rest of the teams in the league, who averaged a combined 18.9 points per game. The next closest team to the Renegades was the Los Angeles Wildcats at 25.9. While there is no guarantee that PJ Walker's success translates at the NFL level, he seems like a guy that is more than worth taking a shot on. Between his presence on the field, his work ethic, and his physical ability, there is no reason not to. After all, the XFL salaries are still diminutive compared to even the lowest level backup quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, think about it. The highest paid XFL player is hardly making $500,000. That's a lot less than the average in the NFL, which is well into the millions. So at the very least, look for one of the teams in need of a new backup to be waiting at Walker's door. And if things work out, who knows? We could be looking at the next Russell Wilson. Do you think PJ Walker will succeed at the NFL level? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time to do that by hitting the subscribe button. If you like the video, then like the video and hit the like button. We'd really appreciate it. And last but not least, don't forget to tune in to TPS every single day and wash your hands. And we'll see you next time.